You seem to be very well versed with multiple technologies. I think you said UI, SQL, Java, Python. Which one interests you more?
Like my personal favorite is C, from which I actually started. That is where I got interested into programming, and that is what made me understand the basics and how exactly the programming works, how exactly you build the logic, how internally everything works. So that is my first step in this particular field. So that is my favorite, and I have worked on the other technologies also, like for development of my projects and all. So back end, front end, as well as the processing.
Okay. Are you familiar with SQL?
Yes, I have worked on it for my academic projects.
Okay, could you tell me, what is the difference between a database and a database management system?
Basically, database is the organization of the structure. So nowadays, if we talk about today's era, everywhere there's so much of data, and every business decisions and everything depends on data. So having a data stored in a proper structured format is very important. So database is something which gives you a structured format wherein you can store the database. And database management database management system is something which helps you interact with the data that you have stored.
Then what about this RDBMS, which we hear about? What do you know about it?
Okay, in relation, RDBMS is the relational database management system, wherein whatever information that we are storing, so it is in the form of tables, wherein we have multiple columns and multiple rows, and in relational database there are multiple tables wherein there are some relations. For example, if I talk about a college management system, so there will be a student table and there may be a teacher table. So student and teacher, they are related to either. So these two tables will be linked together with some common fields or some relationship between them. And there will be another table, maybe course. So multiple tables linked together to form a basic relational database management system.
Then how is data stored in the data DBMS that is not relational?
In that, it is like only single table. There are no relations there. In a relational database management system, there are multiple tables and then they are related to each other.
Okay. Is there any relational database management system you worked with, or do you know any of them? Can you
Yeah,
list few of them?
to name a few, I know SQL Server, then Postgres SQL, then Oracle also. So these are a few that I know.
Right. So what about SQL? What do you think is SQL?
Basically, SQL is the query language. Like I spoke about data being stored in tables and all. Now, if we have a proper structured data, like where the data is stored properly, the next step would be to actually use it. To actually, when we need to add those data, the information into the tables, we need to retrieve it. We need to view some information from that. So in that case, we need some commands that we can operate it on. So SQL is a query language which gives us these basic commands that we can work with the database. So it will help us add more data to it, read some data from it, delete it, or whatever operations we need to perform.
What about the difference between SQL and MySQL? Have you heard about MySQL?
Yeah, MySQL is a relational database management system. So it's a system software that is there to work with the database, and SQL is the query language that gives us the commands.
Okay. You said no, that in relational database management system, we are working with tables. So data is stored in the tables. Any kind of data can be stored, or is there a way I can restrict or enforce rules on the type of data that can be placed in a table?
Yes, I believe the main aim of having this kind of structure was to have a data that has some restrictions on it. Like, for example, if I talk about storing data in normal files or something, there we don't apply any rules. We can just add some information. So there's no restrictions to that. But in database, when we store some data, we can have some constraints on it. For example, if I talk about student ID, roll number, so that is something which is mandatory. It needs to be there. So I can have it like it cannot be null anytime. Like student name, that also has to be there. Like the student name cannot be null. And if I'm storing some record in a table, I cannot keep the name value as null. So in that case, I can apply a constraint. There are multiple constraints in SQL. So like null, not null, unique, check, and there are multiple ones which we can use and restrict how we want the data to be stored, in what particular format, and what are the rules that needs to be applied.
Okay, for example, say you wish to create a table. What is the SQL query for that?
For that, we have the command as create table. Then we give the table name.
Could you write it on a notepad, please, for us, like if possible?
Yeah, let me check.
Anuj, I have made you presenter, so you can even share the notepad
Yes,
screen.
yes. Is it visible?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Okay. So if I have to create a table, for example, a student table, I need to use the create command. Okay. Then after that, table. And then I need to give the table name. Let's say I'm creating a student table. So create table student, round brackets. Now within this, I will have the multiple fields that I want to store, like whatever related information I want to store about the student. So for example, it's roll number, which will be of type number. So it can be int. Then name. So for name, we need to give the data type as varchar. Then we can have, let's say, phone number, which can be of type decimal. I can just have some 10 numbers here, and etc. Like whatever more fields you want to add. So you can just keep on adding the name of the field and the data type that you want to store it with.
So can you tell me what is this 30 you have written in this bracket after varchar? What does it actually indicate?
This indicates how many characters you can have. For example, a name can be of any number of characters. We are not fixed with it. So that is why we use varchar, wherein we can have characters less than 30 and up to 30, like 0 to 30 characters.
So does it it represents the maximum value?
Yeah, it represents the maximum value.
Suppose say you have created this table, okay, called student, and after this I write another query, say create table, and I write student in lowercase letters. Will it work? Will it create? Will they be treated as two different tables, or will it be? Will it raise an error? What do you think would happen?
I believe it will create another table because the name of the data, like the table should be proper. It should be case sensitive.
Okay. What about applying constraints over here?
For example, I can have the name as not null, so I can just add it as not null. So this will apply a constraint wherein the name will not be allowed to have a null value.
Okay. There were like there are like few constraints like primary key and foreign key.
Yeah.
Do you know what they are? Like what is a primary key and what's a foreign key? Could you?
Yes. Basically, primary key is it is marked by a field. Like for example, if I want to get the data of the student, so there should be some unique value that gives me access to the unique record of the like for the student. So basically, roll number is something which is very different. Like there will be no student with the same two roll numbers, right? So that can be a primary key which gives me the unique value. So basically, primary key is a unique field that has like it is a field that has unique values and which help me access the unique records. And foreign key, now I spoke about relational database wherein the tables are connected to each other. So a foreign key is a primary key of one table into the other table. For example, if I talk about the student and a course, student table and a course table, so a student will enroll into multiple courses, like there will be multiple subjects. So let's say Python, C Sharp, and SQL. So these multiple subjects they have applied for. So the primary key of the student table will go as a foreign key in the course table, indicating that this particular student has selected this particular subject. So that is how it will be linked.
So you are saying that if I want to like have a foreign key in another table, then roll number should be part of that particular table.
No, not that particular table. Like for student, roll number is the primary key. Then this roll number will act as a foreign key for the subject table.
Okay. Do you know about CRUD operations?
Yes, basically, when we talk about tables, we have different operations to perform on, like inserting new records, deleting some records, creating a table. So all update, delete, alter, all these come under CRUD operations. Create.
Okay. So what about this retrieve? Is there a way to retrieve data from your table?
Yes, for that we will be using the select command. So select is a command which helps you fetch different like data depending on different conditions as well. You can either see the entire data like entire table, or you can have some restriction. You can have some conditions applied wherein you want to see the like data related to particular values. So even that can be done.
Could you write the query, that select query? Could you write it?
For example, if I want to see the entire data from the student table, I'll just write it as select star from and then the table name. So basically the star means I need all the columns to be displayed. So if at all I need specific columns, I can just write the names of the columns which I wish to see.
Okay, right. Could you tell me like what kind of statement is this select? Have you heard about those DML, DRL statements?
Yeah, so this is the data retrieval, or sometimes it is called as data query language. So it comes under that.
What about this create table that you have create, that SQL query? What kind of statement is it?
Okay, basically we have DDL, DML, and DQL. So DDL basically works with the structure. So that is wherein create comes in. Structure in the sense the columns that we will have, the data types that we will have, the constraints that we will have. So create is one of the command DDL commands. Then we have alter. Then we have drop. So these are the few DDL commands. And then if I talk about DML commands, there are update, delete. So basically it works on the data. DDL will work on the structure and DML will work on the data that is stored inside the tables. So under DML, we will have update, we will have delete, we will have insert. So these are a few commands that we will have in DML.
Okay, what about if I wish to insert data into this table? What is the SQL statement?
For that, I have to use the insert command. So insert into, then the table name, insert into student. Then I need to specify the column names. This is optional. I may specify or I may not. Then I'll just say one number. After this, values. And then in the round brackets, I have to give the actual values that I need to store. For example, 12 is the roll number. Name can be Aruj, and then phone number. So this is how it would insert a record in the table.
Is it possible to insert more than one record at a time?
Yes, it is possible. So in that case, I can just put comma here and then values, and then multiple values can be put.
Okay. Aruj, what if I don't enter, I enter only 13. Okay, say you entered, just say 13. I did not enter the means values for name and phone number. Then will it work?
No, it will throw an error because we have specified here that we are entering columns like these three columns, and the provided row is only one, like provided value is only one.
Okay, so suppose I don't enter any data for a roll number which you have written as primary key. Will it work?
No, it is not supposed to work because primary key enforces some constraints like that it should not be null and it should be unique. So these are by default constraints when you use a primary key constraint.
So when we say null, what do you mean by null? Is the value being 0? What that is the meaning of null? What is actually the meaning of null?
Null means no value basically.
So it's an empty space you're saying. The field is empty.
Yes.
Okay. What about this? Do you know drop command, drop truncate and delete, these SQL statements.
Yeah.
Could you just elaborate the difference between drop and delete and truncate?
Okay, so drop is basically one of the DDL commands wherein it works with the structure. So for example, if there's one table which you want to delete, you wish to just remove it from the database completely with the structure, with everything, then drop command can be used. So it deletes everything, the structure, that the columns, the data within that, everything will be deleted altogether. Then if I talk about delete, that is one of the DML commands. So it only works on the data. So only the data which is stored, not the table structure. It will only affect the rows, the records that are stored, depending on whatever conditions you want. So delete can be either used with conditions or without the condition as well. So when we use a delete command without the condition, it just empties the table. So all the records will be deleted irrespective of any of the conditions. Then if I talk about the truncate, that is basically used to empty a table. So structure remains, but the data is removed from the table without any condition check.
So when I'm having this truncate, which deletes all the rows, why do we have this delete then?
Delete is basically to because see, if it in truncate, we cannot apply that only these particular records needs to be deleted. It will delete all of the data at once. But with the delete command, we have that opportunity to specify that only these condition based, like for example, students living in Pune, I just want to delete the data for them. So I can put a condition like delete from this table where the student city is Pune. So it will only delete those particular rows and the other records will be in place.
So how do I know that the table no longer exists? Is there an SQL statement to check? Like you're saying, no, for drop, the table itself gets dropped. It's not there. And whereas for delete and truncate, only the data gets deleted, but the structure remains the same. So is there any SQL statement? Do you know?
I think it is show tables. If we execute show tables command, it displays all the tables that are there within the database.
Okay. And if I want to use a database, then what's the command?
It's use and the database name.
Okay. Right. Could you explain the order by clause with an example using the student table itself?
Okay. For example, I want to display my student records. For example, in the ascending order of the names. Okay, if I want to do that. So basically order by is to represent your data in ascending or descending order of some particular field. So if I want to just display everything here, like all my data from student table, okay, wherein I will just say select star from student, then I'll say order by let's say name. So here what I'm trying to do is I am or like whatever data that I receive, all of that will be ordered in ascending order of the name. So it will be alphabetical, like A, the name starting with A will be starting in the top and then followed by the next characters.
Yeah, but you did not write in ascending or descending order.
Yeah,
How
so
it
by default it is ascending, and if you want it to be descending, then you have to specify it as DESC.
Okay, so this will display will it display only the name column or display the entire table?
No, it will display the entire table because I have selected here all columns. So all the columns will be displayed, but the order of which it will be displayed will be according to the name.
Okay. What about this alias concept in SQL? Do you know what it is?
Yes, that concept basically creates a temporary name for a table or for a column. For example, if this is like I'm using a student table and I want to keep a short name for it so that I can use it later. Sometimes we may want to use the table name in further queries to use it with the column names and all. So for that we can have a short name. It is just an alternate temporary name that we can give to any table or any column. And there's another advantage of that having an alias is the names of the fields, the names of the column. That is something very like a confidential data kind of thing. Because if I know the name of the column, I get access to like I can just perform different queries and work with that. So if at all I want to hide that information from the user while displaying, what I can do is instead of having the roll number, as the exact column name, I can just name it as something else. Let's say in some other, maybe RNO like that, something, so that the original column name is hidden and no one gets advantage of using it. So that's an additional advantage of using Alice.
What about aggregate functions? What are those and what all can we do in SQL?
In aggregate functions, basically, when you want to perform operations like counting something or finding the totals or average, finding the minimum value. So we have some aggregate functions like sum, count, max, min, average. So AVG, that is. So these are some aggregate functions which gives you a combined result. Like if I use a count aggregate function, it can give me the total number of records that are there. If I just count all the records, it will give me how many records are there in my table. Max will give me the maximum value depending on something. For example, I want to see the student with maximum marks. So I can just apply that max aggregate function with a marks column, and then it will give me the maximum value for that particular column.
Could you please write a query where we count the number of students?
Yeah, sure. So I'll just, it will be in select because aggregate functions are used with the select clause, select command. So select count, this is the aggregate function. I will apply it on the roll number because this is a unique value and it can give me the total number of students. So select count from student. So this will basically give me the total number of student records in my table.
What if I write select count star from student? Will it be same? Will it give me the same result?
I haven't tried it with star though. Like I've always worked with only with a single single column field. So I would try that to see maybe.
Okay. What about if I want that student with maximum roll number? Then what is the query?
So for the maximum, the student name with the maximum. So for that, I'll have to write the name because name is a column that I will require, and then max.
Okay. How about, you said database, your RDBMS consists of multiple tables, and there is relationship between those tables, right?
Yes.
So if I wanted to join two tables, is it possible?
Yes, there are multiple joins that we perform. So whenever we
Attention, please.
Just
We are investigating an incident in the building.
Sorry for that. All right. Could you please?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, I'll continue with my answer. So we were talking about joins. Basically, when we have multiple tables, there is a requirement wherein we will have to get the results from multiple tables. So we will have to join the records, join the data together, and then we perform the queries on that. So basically, we use a join. There are multiple joins which are there, which we can perform according to what is the requirement of, like what our requirement is, what data we are trying to get.
Okay, what are the different kinds of joins possible? Can you list a few?
Yeah, so there is like inner join, full outer join, then left outer join, right outer join, yeah, these and cross join. So these are a few joins that are there.
What is inner join?
Inner join basically gives you the data that is common between multiple tables. For example, if I want to see the students and the courses, like the subjects, students and the subjects, I want to see which student has taken which subject. So it is a data that is common between two tables. Like I have the records of the students in my student table, and for those students, I have some information in the subject table as well. So this is some kind of information which I'm trying to access, which is given by the inner join. It's basically the intersection of two tables.
Do you know anything about normalization?
Yes. So when we are structuring the data, when we are putting into a tabular format, so normalization basically means structuring, like putting it in a proper structure, having proper data types for it, and like putting it in proper fields. So that is what the normalization that is the basic of the normalization.
So could you explain like one NF for us, one normalization form?
Okay, so normalization has multiple forms. So the first form, like every form has some restrictions, like some rules to be applied. So for the one NF, the rule is like we cannot have any column that has an aggregate that has composite values. For example, I am storing phone number for a student, so I cannot have a phone number column having multiple values in the same cell. Like for a single student, there are multiple phone numbers in the same column. That is something which is not allowed in 1NF. So if that is not there, then the table is in 1NF form.
Okay, fine. Srinivas sir,
Yeah, Pankaj.
please continue. Thank you, Aruj.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Arush, you can close the sharing of the screen.
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, fine. As apart when you are in the college, like apart from the academics, so you might have learned as you are into the BTech into the computer science, so you might have learned some subjects as a part of computer science, right?
Yes.
Apart from the subjects whatever you have discussed at the college, did you learn any additional programming languages or technologies or niche or advanced technologies as your own interest?
As per my own interest, I had gone into the basic game development, that is Scratch. It's actually there for the kids, but then it just attracted me because it was basics of game development. So I had just tried learning it so that I can get an idea of game development as well.
Okay. Did you use any technology for that?
There's a Scratch website. It's a that is a Scratch like technology is only Scratch, so it is like graphical user interface that is basically for kids for developing some games. But I just tried it with an interest of getting an idea of how the game development would happen. So I had tried that once, this like Scratch technology.
Okay. Apart from that, did you participate in any hackathons or coding competitions, coding challenges?
Yeah, one of the coding challenges, it's like from Code Chef. So every time they have these starters and these kind of competitions, so I had participated in one of them.
Okay. And did you do any certifications
Uh,
in programming languages like Python or Java or any other technologies?
I had just attended one short like crash course on Python that was a part of extracurricular activity. So that certification, yeah, I had done that once.
Okay, that's good. Apart from the academics and this technology events, any other events you have participated or you have led any events?
During my academics, not the technical ones, but there was one competition that was called Avishkar. So that was based on electronics. That was one of my subjects in the initial year. So I had participated for the project, the electronics project in that once.
Okay.
So wherein it was some invention that was needed to be done based on electronics project.
Okay, that's good. Fine. So, if you are selected, in which role you are interested to take up in IT industry?
My interest is like majorly into development because that is something which I've been loving and enjoying to do a lot. So I would look forward to getting into a developer, like even a full stack or any front end, back end, but into a development field. That would be my first preference.
Okay. Fine. But fine. Initially, I may be taking you into the development, but later, after a few months, our project requirement may be changed, and I may ask you to take up a different role, like for example, as a tester. So, what is your take on that? Are you interested, or what is your decision?
Being in a development role, so that development role is something which I would always want to be in. But if the project requirement is there and the organization that I'm working for it is my duty to, get forward to it and get something more progressive for the organization. So if that helps, I would really be a part of the testing team. And later on, I would wish to come back to development whenever possible. But for the time being, if it is required and I can help it, I can give my contribution towards it, I would really take up that role.
Okay, that's good. Like, can you tell me about the team working?
Teamwork basically whenever we are into any of the any project or any work, we always have a team. So what I believe is we should have, like, every team member should have the rights to share their views and also to listen to others. So this is, and also help each other, because teamwork, like, any team would only be successful if we are all helping each other and we all are heard, and like we all have all have the space to speak, as well as we all listen to the others as well. So it should be a mutual contribution every time, and we should just have some compromises also whenever required, and then the team can go smoothly. Because if team is working fine, then any of the project and any of the work can be just work perfect.
Okay, that's great. Like, have you worked in any teams during your academics, like projects or whatever it may be? And
Yes.
what is the role you have played?
Yes, during the academics also, the academic project that we were supposed to do was in a teamwork as well. So we had all divided up. Being the strongest person in technology, I was the major. I had the major responsibility of having those main part develop, and all other team members were designing, documentation, and these were the other people's role. And my role was the proper development part.
Okay, then how did you coordinate with other team members?
We initially planned and distributed the role uh, depending on the strengths excuse me, depending on the strength of the individual. So whichever team member was like comfortable and who had a strength in that particular field, we assigned those tasks accordingly, and then we planned and started working on it.
Okay, that's good. So coming to now the IT industries, like, it's geographically it will be distributed all over the globe, and we may need to the associates to travel. Okay, so maybe within India or maybe offshore. So are you ready for that?
I believe traveling gives you more exposure. Like, the more people you meet, the more knowledge you gain, and that is what gives you exposure to many ideas. Like, according to what I have been through in the college and all, what I've heard from from my different, like, from my cousins and all who are working, they always tell me that when you talk to more people, when you interact with more people, you get more idea, and get more clarification, get to know many things which you will not know being in one place. So getting into different places, knowing more people, and that is something is very important in your growth in any organization or in your career. So I think that is a very good opportunity, and I would take up whenever possible.
Short term or long term? For example, if we ask you to move for long term, like 3 or 4 years.
3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Okay, that would also depend on my family. So um, depends on the circumstances and the family situations. I would take up that responsibility.
Okay. Fine. So coming to the learning part, let's say that once after you are taken into a project, suddenly a requirement will be coming up and you are asked to learn some advanced topic. Let's say that you are good at Java.
I have learned it. I know the basics of Java to
Yeah.
some extent.
So suddenly you are taken into a project where the requirement is to learn the advanced concepts like JSP, servlets, Spring Boot, Hibernate, and so on. So these advanced topics are required for the project, and you are asked to learn. So how do you do that? and how much time you'll take?
Okay, for that, I would first look for like the site or some online tutorials wherever I can get the information, where I can get some courses which I can follow. If I'm in an organization, I believe that there are many sources that you get being a part of an organization. So I'll make use of all the sources, and I will just make it as quick as possible, because learning technology is like learning is always a crucial thing in when you are a part of a technology field. So I would just do it as soon as possible.
Like, see, I may not be giving you the entire time for learning because you'll be working and simultaneously learning. So how do you balance that then?
I will try to complete my task in very short period of time, and then give the rest of the time for my learning. So, and I will just concentrate more and more, and just try to complete the learning as quick as possible so that I can make up for it.
Can you give some good learning resources on the internet which you have already used for learning?
I have used LinkedIn sometimes, and then YouTube videos are also sometimes which are very useful in clearing your doubts. Sometimes you get some animated videos wherein they really clear your concept in depth. So that is also like whenever I get stuck with something, I do prefer going on YouTube and searching for that. But for a complete course or something, Udemy, LinkedIn, these are the sources which give you a complete idea on a full-fledged course.
Okay, fine. Nice talking to you, Arish.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Vishal, it's for you now.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Aruj. Thank you, Srinivas. Thank you, Pankaja. So can we have quick feedback? Srinivas, you can share about the managerial round. Pankaja can share about the technical round. Just one observation, and later on I would request Aruj also to share with today's audience. Technically, yes, she was prepared very well, and it was very much revealing, when she was responding to SQL questions, that she has done a lot of hands-on. Okay, and that's why for every question she had a confident answer and practical answer. Okay, but one thing, Aruj, how did you see the way you are communicating? Okay, your communication is of really it matches very high quality. Okay, so apart from how you prepared on technology, if you can give some tips to the audience on how you made your communication very effective, right? That will be really helpful. Okay. So after Srinivas sir is done, Pankaja ma'am is done, once we come to you, please do share tips on communication as well. Right? Yeah, sir, over to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah. So coming to the managerial round, actually, any manager, once if he's doing a managerial round, so definitely looking for the aspects like learning. Okay. So during the academics, whether the associate or the candidate learned on his or her own, and for extracting that, for knowing that information, generally I may be asking like what are the resources they have used or you have used. And then after the academics, even after coming out of the college, like especially when they are into the projects, how they can develop on their own, like identifying the resources and then going through the resources and developing on their own, especially when the project deadlines are short. Okay, so this is actually what, as a manager, definitely I'll be looking for. Okay, and then fine, coming to the communication, definitely that I'll be looking out, but that we will assess during the technical round itself. Like in this case, you can see very confident. You can see during with the communication itself, we can see the confidence levels. That is one more thing. And yes, I said about the learning attitude, so that is very important. And then also during the academics, apart from just learning the subjects, whatever there. For example, if you are a computer science, you may be just learning the theoretical structures like algorithms, designing, and so on, software engineering, whatever it may be. But apart from that, yes, there is a scope like learning other technologies or something advanced courses. So definitely, I'll be looking after that, because definitely it will be helpful for your career as well as for the company. So this is what about my observations and about the managerial round. Pankasha, now you can give your feedback.
Yes, thank you, Srinivas. Like when we when technical round, basically we look at whether your concepts are very clear. Like here, Aruj chose her field or her chosen subject of interest was SQL, and she had prepared quite well for it. So that is what we look out for. Ki how confident you are in your chosen subject. Okay, whether you are able to answer, basic concepts, and you basic when you are saying ki like yes, I would like to would when I say I prefer Java or when I say I prefer Python, you need to prepare for that. And please don't prepare in bits and pieces. I would prefer, or we would prefer that you prepare it thoroughly. Okay, so know all the nitty gritties of your programming languages. Okay, so most of the time, you will get to know, you can master that particular programming languages or whatever is your technology you are interested in. I think you could do it by doing your projects, okay, or being part of your coding challenges. Like Aruj mentioned that she was part of some coding challenges, so please do participate in them. Please do your projects by yourself. And also communication skill, you need to really work on them because they also matter a lot. And I would also suggest that you keep yourself updated related to technology. So you could read various articles, papers, journal papers, or you could go through newspapers. Keep yourself updated. So basically, we just look at whether or not you are confident in the chosen subject of interest, and whether you know the basic concepts thoroughly. So that is what I would like to say. Thank you. Aruj?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Pankaj ma'am.
You can share the tips for the associates, for the candidates.
Okay, so basically, what I would recommend is, firstly, when you are learning, when you are into any engineering or something, you have to learn all the basic concept. That is where you get the strength from, and the next strength is from actually applying it into the academic project. Generally, people don't do their projects on their own, but that is where you get your practice from. That is something where you actually apply things, and those things which you apply once are always there with you. So you don't have to always prepare for the interview once you have worked with it. So practice is something which is more important than theoretically preparing for an interview. So the more you practice throughout your academics, the more you work on your projects, the more confidence you get. So the basic knowledge and confidence is something which is the key to having a very good interview experience. So I would always I would always recommend that be confident. Just whatever you know, be very clear with it. Whatever knowledge you have, you should be completely confirmed about. Okay, this is something which I know about, and I am very well versed with that. So just go with that particular thing. And whatever, like as Pankaja ma'am said, if you are telling about some particular technology, first work on the basics, because that is where your knowledge is tested. The advanced concepts and all, you may know it, but the basics is where that is what is wanted the most. And about the communication, that will also come from practice. So while you're in your academics, do participate in some events wherein you have to speak up, where you have to get on the stage and just be a person who will talk. So the more you practice and the more you participate in such events, it boosts your confidence, and it will really help you in your interview performances. Yeah, that is what is from my part. So all the best to all of you for all your interviews.
And Aruj, how did you improve on your communication?
Basically, sir, that is from practice. Like basically, we all know that English is a language which you will which you will require in organization. So I would recommend that in your academics, please do practice English language only. Like whenever you talk, make sure that you are talking in English, because the regular conversation is only the key that will help you be good at communication. That is what how I have also learned. So we had always been talking in English, so it is like it is not something that I'm trying to do. It is already a part of me now because I've been already practicing it.
So since when you realized and you started doing this? Was it in college? Was it in school? See,
In
the
our
reason,
school,
reason I'm stressing on this point, many times, when we are conducting these simulations, when I'm conducting sessions for these students and this our community who might, appear for TCS interviews, I do get questions like, is it okay if we, if we respond in Hindi, like those kind of questions. So there are a certain number like where these candidates might be struggling on English. Okay, that's why before we close today's sessions, yes, I thought we can share some tips. So for you, when did you realize that you
in my
should be doing
school,
this way?
basically in my school, it was a compulsion. It was a convent school, so there was no choice of not talking in English. And it was so English medium school, everything is English, and we were all supposed to only talk in English. If we were found not talking in English, we were punished. So that is what made us that is what forced us to talk in English. And then that is from where we started practicing. And once it was on us, we had I already, like with my friends, also with teachers, everyone, we used to only speak in English. So that is where we got into practice. Like that is from where I got more practice, from school itself. So my base is actually from school only, of this
Okay,
of talking in English.
Vishal,
good.
can I add?
Yeah, please, ma'am. Please.
Right. Generally, like when I used to teach in academics, so like students used to ask me, so I usually used to tell them ki, if you're not good at it, you need to read it could be a book, it could be a newspaper, but you need to read it loudly. The more you hear yourself, the more you will correct and more you will start speaking and pronouncing words correctly. So actually reading out English text loudly would actually help them improve their communication skills. Uh, this is one suggestion I can give actually.
A very good suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah, I would
Sure.
just want to add one thing.
Please.
Like whenever you are learning some technology, we basically, when we are trying to clear our concept, we tend to get it into the language, because on YouTube we get videos on any language. So I would recommend that you get your concept clear in the English language only, because we all know that everywhere in the organization and everywhere we will have to talk in English. So that is a priority. So you should keep practicing it, and the more you hear, the more you read, as Pankaja ma'am said, the more you read, the more you hear, and and then after that you have to speak up. That is where that will come in. So practice is always a key for any better performance. That I would just say that.
Thank you, Aroj. So thanks.